one of the big problems with the way that healthcare is approached today by both conventional and alternative practitioners is that so many practitioners just want to treat or just focus on treating the symptom and ignore the source of the symptoms. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about the 4 key pillars of natural medicine. And before we can really start diving into herbal and nutraceutical natural protocols, we have to take a systemic approach to health and really focus on these 4 key areas. This is something I didn't realize when I was younger, and it's something I see people getting wrong over and over again. As a result, we can waste a ton of time, money, effort, and energy trying to get well, but nothing really seems to work. It's because something, or perhaps more than one thing, in one or more of these 4 areas is either skipped or overlooked. One of the big problems with the way that healthcare is approached today by both conventional and alternative practitioners is that so many practitioners just want to treat or just focus on treating the symptom and ignore the source of the symptoms. And it isn't just practitioners. Most clients and health seekers are looking for symptom relief, and they don't realize that they truly need to address the underlying cause of dysfunction if they really want long-term lasting results. So the number one question that I get asked multiple times a day is what supplement, what herb, what oil, what remedy should I take for blank condition, whether it's headaches or PCOS or asthma or diabetes. And I really wish it was that simple. The truth is, starting with these 4 pillars is the only true way to achieve lasting wellness. Of course, symptom relief is important, and we totally address that. It's just that it just doesn't stop with the symptom relief. We really have to address the overall health in your natural state. So as an example, let's say you found like the perfect remedy, but as soon as you stop taking that remedy, the problem just keeps coming back. Let's say, for example, you suffer from heartburn and you used to take Tums or Rolaids every day. So every time you took this antacid, you would feel better. But you started thinking that maybe that wasn't the best option. You wanted to go with something more natural. And so you found marshmallow root. And now marshmallow root is a natural remedy that can truly help with heartburn discomfort. But you start taking it and you notice that if you skip a day or go on vacation and you forget it, that heartburn just comes back. The problem didn't go away. Marshmallow root didn't solve your problem. It just suppressed it. And this is the difference between depending on a remedy, like a herb or a supplement, to resolve your symptoms, or actually removing and resolving the cause of the problem and building resilient health. And of course, we really want to focus on that second one. We really want to remove dysfunction and build health. It's possible to build our health strategies on a systemic foundation. So when we talk about natural medicine, there's 4 points that we're going to be covering, and that's nourishing food, abundant movement, manageable stress and stress reduction. This includes many things: mental, emotional stress, biochemical stress, and physical stress. And of course, good, deep, restorative sleep. So we have food, movement, sleep, and stress management. And again, stress management can mean many things depending on the type of stress we're working with. It could be meditation, it could be detoxification, it could be getting a massage or avoiding allergenic food. So again, we have food as medicine, we have movement as medicine, we have mindfulness or stress reduction and meditation as medicine, and we have sleep and rest as medicine. So these are the foundations, the fundamentals of good health and natural medicine. And it's important to note that you're going to want to personalize each area based on your needs and your preferences. And you can really find what you like and what works for you. And here's the thing. So we can actually work with plants and herbs and supplements to support each of these areas and help you to reach your goals and to really firm up each of these areas. So we're going to make decisions about how to work in each area. We're going to have to think about our genetics, our energetics. We're going to think about the physiology of our particular situation. And of course, we're going to think about our personal preference, because Some people like some options better than others, and that's totally okay. You may prefer yoga to a HIIT workout. You may prefer tapping instead of hypnosis. And the truth is, the only protocols that are going to work for you are the ones that you're actually going to do on a daily basis. So let's have an example here. Our person who is feeling run down. So perhaps dealing with some depression, having some trouble processing stressful events that are happening in their lives. They could have a lot of stressful events and have a hard time just processing through all of them and feeling overwhelmed. This is a very common thing, especially this year. It might sound familiar. When people are very stressed, they're in a sympathetic nervous system state, and this is a fight or flight. And so a lot of people notice their digestion slows down, and they may have a tendency towards constipation or cramping. In natural medicine, we actually refer to these as like a cold state. When, from the perspective of energetics, when we think about things like slow digestion, slow function, slow thoughts, feeling lethargic, we think of it as a cold state. And so working with that, we go through the compass of the fundamental pillars here. We can look at each of these in regards to how these cold patterns are showing up there and what we can do to resolve that. So if we're going to start with food, again, that the person has sluggish digestion, they eat something and it just sits there, takes a super long time to work its way through their digestive system, feels like a brick in their stomach, and maybe the food doesn't even get entirely digested when it comes out the other end. This is a really common thing, especially when people are stressed out. And so we have to think about ways to warm the digestive system and to stimulate it to get it moving again. And we can work with this two different ways. So we can start with the food itself. So for instance, when we cook food, it's like pre-digestion. So we have the fire from our stove or our cooking appliance or cooktop, and that heat goes into the food and transforms it in a way, it basically breaks it down like pre-digestion. Breaks it down a little bit and makes it easier for you, especially your digestive system, when it's not quite humming along the way it should. It can make it easier for you to actually assimilate it during the last stages of breakdown to help you absorb more nutrients from your food. So I would often advise people who are experiencing this type of digestive issues to prepare all their own food at home, because they're going to get the best possible nutrition that way, and they're not going to get any processed crappy foods. And also I'd advise to cook it long and slow. So think about using the crock pot, lots of soups and stews and roasts, things that have long, slow cooking. That's going to be easiest for the body to handle and break down when they're in this slow digestive state. And it's going to be most appropriate for them to do this. And at the same time, we can actually work with herbs to support this process as well. So when we think about bitter herbs in general, we're going to be helpful for stimulating digestive secretions, getting your stomach acid and your bile and all your digestive juices flowing. But we can get a little more specific here. And there's one specific herb called calamus root that is probably the best single herb for this particular state. Calamus is not only bitter, but it's also warming in qualities. It can get some blood moving, some circulation to the digestive system, some more metabolic activity happening, and it's really appropriate for someone with a slow, sluggish, stressed out digestive system. And then we can look at stress. So when we think about this person, they're having a lot of difficulty processing stress and getting overwhelmed and depressed as a result. So we have to look at how we can help this person process their emotions more efficiently and effectively. And again, we're going to be thinking about warming things up and stimulating this function. And so we can attack this also from two ways. So on the herbal side or the plant side, we can use Tulsi. So Tulsi is a wonderful herb that can really be helpful when you're feeling just stressed out and overwhelmed. But Tulsi is actually warming and stimulating to the brain and the nervous system, but not in a way that gets you all agitated and jittery, more in a way that helps you resolve anxious feelings. So Tulsi is an amazing plant, and it's a really powerful natural medicine. You can find it in a tea or a capsule or a tincture. And then if a person is also having trouble processing stressful things going on in their life, another thing that, of course, a very logical thing we can do is reduce the number of stressful things they have to deal with. This sometimes means saying no to obligations that you don't necessarily have to do. We can't tell them not to go to work or not to pay their bills, but we can say, don't do extra stuff. Take a media vacation, get off of Facebook and Twitter, stop scrolling Instagram, turn off the news, CNN, all those things. Right now, the brain's just overwhelmed with all the processing that it needs to do. So if you can reduce the amount of processing it needs to have, and on one hand, and then also help to stimulate the function of the processing with the Tulsi, that's a really great approach, right? So we have both sides of the equation. And when we think about movement here, with a person, like we said, is they're feeling run down. They're dealing with overwhelm, they're dealing with depression, and it's not very motivating to get up and get out and get some exercise. We've heard people say how good exercise is, especially when you're feeling depressed, and it is really good. It can actually, in clinical studies, be as good as taking a prescription antidepressant. In fact, it's found that just getting up off the couch can really be helpful when you're depressed. However, that can be the most difficult part. So it'd be great if you can take a 20-minute walk. That's probably the best thing you can do. However, it can be really hard to get that going. As good as movement is for your cardiovascular function, your digestive movement, and also your neurotransmitters and your mood and your emotional state, it can be really difficult when someone's feeling unmotivated and depressed to get that first movement going. So while we can say movement is important, we can actually give them a blend or a tincture that has some cayenne in it. So cayenne is a fiery herb. It's a great plant, and it's super stimulating, and it specifically stimulates the movement of the blood. So we're gonna say, all right, here's what we're gonna do. There's a specific time of the day that we're gonna want to work out. So we're gonna figure out the best time that you're gonna get some movement in. You can take a few drops of the cayenne tincture. You get this rush and this energy flow, you get the circulation, and then you're good to go. Actually helps you get that push to get off the couch, go take a walk, and get the blood moving. So this actually can help give you that initial impulse, and then you can carry it forward with your physical movement. So that is a great way to navigate that part of the equation, the movement part. So when it's time to go to sleep is another one of the key foundational areas. Oftentimes when you're feeling overwhelmed, you might just lay there and it's quiet, and then you have all these overwhelming thoughts coming, spinning around in your head, repeating over and over in a way that's not completely useful, right? You might be saying, like, please stop, I need to get some sleep. I heard that sleep is important, but the thoughts just don't stop. You have too much of the stimulation that's not going anywhere, just processing and repeating. And it happens over and over again. And oftentimes people develop insomnia or difficulty sleeping. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's other aspects, there's other points on the foundational compass. Maybe you haven't had enough of those in your day. So maybe you haven't had enough movement to process that internal stress, that fight or flight reaction, and it's pent up as emotions now. And so it just builds up. So now in that moment, when you're finally trying to relax, at the end of the day, you have all those hormones and adrenaline running around and you're just not done yet. And on the other hand, we can say, okay, let's try some meditation. Meditation is a great tool to help get control of all those spinning thoughts in your head. And there's all kinds of different apps that you can put on your phone and on all kinds of different tools that you can use to help you with meditation and mindfulness. But what if your mind is still racing? I have many clients who know they should meditate. They have a plan to meditate. They have their app on their phone and they get ready to meditate and they can't quite quiet down their mind enough to do so. There's a plant for that. There's an herb called Skullcap, which can really help stop that hamster wheel of repetitive thinking in the brain. And when you put those two together, the Skullcap kind of gives you that head start. and getting those thoughts to calm down. And then you could sit down and have your 10 to 20 minutes of meditation, and you can really get things dealt with. And now you can go to bed and you can be able to fall asleep in a much more relaxed state because you don't have all of those thoughts spinning around in your head. That's actually stopped now because you've actually been able to meditate. And one of the things that we can take advantage here is really in all of the examples that we pointed out so far is that every time we do this, our body actually builds an association between the taste or the smell of the herb or the plant or the oil that we use and the state of mind or the state of body that we're trying to accomplish. And so when you sit down at night and you take your Skullcap, it actually helps to shift you into that meditative state of mind, just because your body knows Skullcap equals meditation. And then you practice your meditation. And if you do that often enough, the taste of the Skullcap is just going to start that process happening. So it's going to move you right into that place. Same thing with the taste of Cayenne. It's going to say, oh, okay, it's time to work out. So now your body can start responding to those things as you become more and more familiar with them. And you can start developing these natural allies in this way that can be helpful in so many levels simultaneously. When you're trying to make these lifestyle changes that are honestly, sometimes these can be very difficult. And these are what are going to make the biggest difference long-term in your health. So in our practice, we can give people herbs for upset stomach, but if they're still eating something that their body's allergic to or their body's rejecting, then they're going to have symptoms that keep coming back. So like I said earlier, it's going to immediately return once you stop taking the herb anyway. So we don't want our herbs or our supplements or our remedies to be a crutch that we rely on. Instead, we want them to be something that helps you to get to where you're already trying to go. And of course, along the way, each person is going to be different, right? So the choices we're going to make are going to be very individualized, and that's going to be true on the level of your genetics and your lifestyle and your constitution and your energetic pattern, but also on the level of what's going to appeal to you most. Some people, when I sit down with them for a consultation, I might see a lot of stuff going on. And so I'll have a lot of ideas in my head about what I want them to work on. We can talk about movement, we can talk about stress, we can talk about food, we can talk about sleep. So I'll ask like which area is the area that they feel most comfortable changing right now, or what is the area that they're most interested in making a shift, and that's what we'll focus on first. And we find that doing work in any one of these 4 key areas is going to feed into all the other areas as well. So even though you're just working on sleep, then when you rest, then you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to have more energy. And when you have more energy, you're going to be more able to devote some time to movement that day, and you're going to feel better about it. And then also you can relieve some stress when you're working out, and then you're going to be able to better digest your food, and then your food is going to nourish you better. So they all feed into each other. And every time we move around this circle, these 4 points, we get stronger and we build more resilient health, and we have a deeper reserve of vitality and resilience. So we can go through our day and not feel so worn down, not feel so stressed out. We can get sick less often, and we can feel just a lot better in general. We can actually have a better quality of life. So I'll be back with our next session, sharing how you can align yourself with nature and use natural remedies in a way that best serves your body and your health. Bye for now.